infrared and thermal imaging cameras.
Right in this area.
Is there a ghost in HTHI International? And if so, did the ghost come because of a tragic event that occurred during the time when this building was a part of the Naval Training Center? In 1916, the Naval Training Center, or NTC, was built and became largely known across the United States as one of the premier facilities to prepare young recruits for their naval careers. Throughout the time NTC was open, it grew to about 200 acres of land and had over 300 buildings. Building 51, known today as HTHI International, was built in 1952. It was used as a foundry and later became a school for incoming sailors. There was only one reported death in Building 51, but it was never linked to ghost activity. There were 4 major phases to the construction of Building 51. The first was the initial building in 1952. It was a 1-story building that was used to store machinery and weapons. The second, third, and fourth phases occurred in the 1980s. During this time, a second story was added and created the shell of what is now present-day HTHI International. In 1993, the Navy announced that it intended to close the base due to the Realignment Act of 1990. On April 30th, 1997, all active military use of the base ended.
Do you have like a favorite memory from when you were at boot camp?
Yeah, when I got out.
NTC sat seemingly dormant until it was bought by Corky McMillan in 2000. During this time, an artist named Mr. Wazel created an art studio in the old foundry known as Building 51. Mr. Wazel was a well-known artist who created oversized figures out of bronze, such as the statue of Jack Murphy and his dog that greets Charger fans as they enter Qualcomm Stadium. After retiring, he became extremely fascinated with art, and it became his life. Sadly, Mr. Wazel was later diagnosed with a disease that claimed his ability to use his hands. He became so distraught that he committed suicide on October 5, 2008. He was 56. While his death did not occur in our building, could the spirit be Mr. Wazel coming back to the place where he was both fulfilled and tormented? Although there was only one reported death in Building 51 during the time it was occupied by the Navy, there were many other deaths throughout the base. Many were suicides, allegedly due to the loss of a recruit's wife or girlfriend to another man during their time away.
The men, basically, like I say, they would have fiancés, girlfriends, and they couldn't wait more than 2 months or whatever, and they'd write them Dear Johns. And being you couldn't leave, you were trapped here. You couldn't, the idea you would rush home and try to fix it, you couldn't. And so there were guys that cut their wrist or they jumped out the second story long. And I was on guard one night in Nimitz when a guy jumped out the second story patio into the clothesline. And we used to call the master-at-arms or whatever, and they showed up, took him away. I have no idea if he made it or not. He hit awfully hard. And it was concrete.
However, one additional recent death may have seemingly been connected to the haunting of the old buildings of NTC. On July 30th, 1995, a young 18-year-old homeless woman named Shannon Conway was found dead on Crane Road in San Marcos. She was allegedly murdered. Many witnesses claim that she got in a car with an unknown man just days before she was found. A man was initially arrested, but his DNA was unable to be linked to the crime scene. In 2007, Detective Rick Scully reopened the case, which led to the arrest of Michael E. Williams in 2009. After he was found, detectives discovered that he had been in the Navy in July of 1995 and was stationed in NTC during the time of Conway's murder. He deserted his duty 3 days after her body was discovered. The car that Conway was seen getting into was also found at his residence. Williams' arrest led to his conviction. He was sentenced to life in prison. Could Conway's untimely murder have caused her ghost to reside in Building 51? Could this be a connection to the numerous accounts of a woman's screams that we have heard by various people at HTHI? There are many speculations, but we may never know for sure.